All right, hey everyone. All right, action. Hey everyone, today I'm going to do this painting called Pardon in Brittany by the French artist Gaston La Touche. I don't know if I say that right, but that's my best guess. All right, just going to start here with a little bit of burr number, a little bit of mineral spirits. This is Michael Harding's burr number. I think it's actually the best. And I'm going to just kind of sketch it out, just the composition, and it's just mineral spirits with the burr number. Beautiful thing about this, it kind of reminds me of like a Dagnan Bouveret. That's figures right in there. You don't have to make them look like figures either. The point of these is to study the composition. And then the middle, that's the horse's head. This painting is very abstract in a beautiful way. All right, and then that's right in there, just two dark moments. That's a beautiful thing about even studying it in this way, studying anything in this way. You're just exercising your hand-eye coordination, but also studying the picture. So I don't have to get into the nuance. I mean, I don't. Of what this picture really is. It's really about, I mean, there's so many lessons that can come out of all these little poster studies or master sketches or whatever you want to call them. We did them all the time when we were studying. And the French academics did them to really figure out what they needed to fit into the composition. There's a lot of emphasis these days on working from life, which is wonderful. But back in the day, there was also this abstraction and understanding. I think even abstraction comes out of the French academic tradition, because it's really about, this is the picture right here. This is what you see from across the room when you see it in a gallery, and it makes you want to go over and spend some time with it. So it's important to kind of study. That's why this challenge has so many facets, in my opinion, of why it's helpful. It's more than just, it's not even about doing master copies. It's really about building what you think is good. I mean, you're basically saying, this is my taste. If you are in control of finding the images, that's a wonderful thing. The other thing you can do is, it's a wonderful way to practice, So if you want to take and learn how to be more direct, work from life, something like what I'm doing right now, or this isn't from life, sorry. What I mean is correcting it, painting wet into wet. This is like the most low stakes way of doing it, because now it's like, if it's not any good, I can just wipe it. So I'm gonna jump out into the color in just a minute. I'm gonna keep it abstract. So I don't know what colors he had on his palette. I'm gonna just go with colors I feel that I have that can get pretty close to that, and I feel like somewhere in the red, purple, violet color scheme is going to be there. And again, this is something, as you're studying this and doing these little paintings, the wonderful thing about this is that you can begin to kind of think, like, is this a color scheme, or what is going on at this time? And you can investigate. It's a curiosity thing, in my opinion. So, can you mix the color? How close are you coming to the color? The other thing is to take whatever it is that you do at the end and just say, like, is there something beautiful even about that? You know, so if I didn't nail it, is there a beauty even to the picture that I made? You know, and that's where I think you'd probably be able to, you know, not worry so much about making perfect copies. I mean, this is not about copies. This is about, it's kind of like crafting your taste in one regards. So I'm going to leave that, and then I'm going to just move down this way. Now I want to just let's get a dark. I've got a blue. I've got burnt umber. That's ultra. I'm going to just get that in there just to see. And, you know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but, you know, by even extracting from a painting like this, it could be something that's learned, you know, where you're just experimenting with a couple mixtures and saying, how does this look as, you know, as a black? And then you've tested it on a little painting. This is not about doing just a week of master copies and making it look exactly like the thing. Look at that lower chroma, and now it's a little bit more gray, and that feels a little bit more like that color, you know. So I think what it took was a little bit of tainting of you know, the brush, and now it feels like it's just gonna lower it, and it feels like you started off with this idea of what the color was, and now I'm gonna just lower it. The other thing about these two, which I love, is maybe you wanna, if you're more apt to not adding paint, add paint. You know, this is like all those fears, overcome them. Very low stakes way of painting, you know, and you can test concepts out. You can extract. It's such a wonderful learning place. Take that, bring it over. Maybe that's what it is. A little bit lower chroma, and maybe that's what. Yeah, that's it. Just a little bit of neutralizing it over there. I don't mix swatches. I don't use any devices or anything like that. I don't understand why artists would do it. It's not even art. That's just simplifying things down into what everybody could do, or anybody could do that. But I'm trying to nail it. That's what, not even nail it, extract and get it close and see what it, you know, can I reel it in without having the use of a device. Maybe you want to use a device, not for me. As I said, and I'm not here to speak for everybody. I'm speaking for my training, the atelier training. Atelier training never has any kind of device or anything like that. All right, so now this leans a little bit more towards blue, and so fascinating. Maybe I'm going to bring in, that's cobalt teal. I'll bring it into this mixture. Let's see what it looks like by putting this over here. I think maybe there's a little bit more green. This is Viridian. Add a little bit more green in there. I'll loosen up with a tiny bit of mineral spirits. And now I'm going to just pull this. So then I'll go back to the green. I feel like the horse is that beautiful, beautiful, maybe even like in here. And that doesn't feel green enough. So I'm going to put it in. Push the drawing over just a touch. I'm going to get a little bit more green. A little bit more blue to the bottom. I'm going to move that because now this head is going to push over a little bit. Now it's not the perfect drawing. Again, you can see it's probably moved over a little bit too much. It doesn't particularly matter, but it's just the shapes. Why did the artist put the shape there, right? Why did he silhouette the head and the horse and then the body here? There's a reason for it. He didn't, you know, just stumble on it. This is articulated. This artist put stuff here for a reason, and it's enough even to study. There's a head here of a person. Comes up and over. Comes down. Beautiful, right? I mean, the abstraction of this painting is gorgeous. All right, get the green in there. And how loose you want to be with this is really up to you. This is not about like copying it exactly. I have to stress that because I see when people do the challenge, they turn into these little master copies like forgers, and that's not what it's about. It's never like when you're studying something, it's never about. Maybe a small element would be about it, but I don't think it's really about how much can you copy. Think of Sargent, when Sargent did a copy of the Aesop by Velasquez. It looks like Sargent's version of Velasquez, and I highly encourage everyone to go look at that because it's a perfect example of still looking like a Sargent extracting from Velasquez, but not. It's not a forgery of a Velasquez. It's fascinating. I see a lot of forgeries these days. Like you got to get the perfect stroke. Unless you're trying to like sell the painting at Sotheby's or something, which is against the law anyway. That's where I would just say don't. That's not what it's about. Extract. It's harder to think and extract than it is to just copy. Think of the reason why the artist put the things. That's why we're studying it. We're not just mindlessly copying things. All right, down here, just let's get in. Hard to even extract like what the artist's intentions and colors and all that stuff in this copy as well, or the sketch I should say, because when you're doing something like this, I'm working from a monitor. I'm working from just a little my iPad, and it's a translation of the painting. I mean, a lot of the time, a lot of artists, the best place to study was in museums. I know we live in the 21st century now, and it's easier for us to just sit at home and do these things, and that's fine. But I don't know what these colors are, and they're probably going to look different. Even a postcard versus something on a iPad. I know it's convenient, and that's fine, but at the same time, there's beauty in even going to see them. Now, some of this stuff, of course, we can't. Like this one's in Chicago, so I can't go see it. But this is the best I can do, and I encourage you. If you go to Chicago, go see it. Bring your study even. And see how close you got. There we go. I feel like there's some blue in here. Could be Prussian. I'm not quite sure. But then we dig into this deep well of, what colors do I have that can possibly hit it? And look at that. That's very abstract. All right, let's get back in here. And I feel like this, somewhere in this range, I just lowered the chroma. This is probably the way that they painted too. I think in a very open manner, like painting, like finding it. Somebody like Kwang Ho is incredible to watch, or Rose Fratzen. The way that they work is, I think, the way that the Impressionists and French academics, even somebody like Waterhouse would have worked, in which they're building the painting, and it's not a paint by number, which a lot of art is turned into. It's not art. If we can all do it, then it's not magnificent. That's just normalizing something. So I encourage you to try. Again, that's why I think these are wonderful little places to try to do all this stuff. And all right, I'm going to just make that darker as it comes over here, maybe a little bit more towards blue. I don't know what colors on the palette. Sometimes that's the research thing that I say to do when I'm working with students. Like research the artist. He's French, probably French academic. I'm not quite sure, but somewhere in the data of studying, maybe you'll find somebody who studied with him and maybe that's where you'll find, you know, what color. You probably didn't use, this is manganese violet, you probably used maybe cobalt if you did, or, you know, there weren't many purples around at that time. And then that's when the research goes into, that's interesting. Does that mean you have to copy it that way? No. But, you know, if you're fascinated by it and you want to see why the artist got the range that they did, I encourage you, go check it out, you know. It's a fun way to kind of research and find out, like, period-wise, like, why people made the decisions that they did. They didn't have access to the colors that we have now, which I think is a wonderful thing to kind of think about. And, you know, why wouldn't they just use dioxazine purple, right? It's like, well, it wasn't out at the time, for one. And, you know, why didn't Napoleon grab his iPhone and, you know, Google, whatever? It's like, well, those things didn't exist at that time. Therefore, we have to contextualize, put things in context of the time frame, and then we can, you know, think about that's the reason why some of these decisions are made. Having access to more pigments doesn't make you a better painter. That just means maybe you can get higher chroma, but you're trading it all off because sometimes you have transparent pigments now. That's why I am not a fan of all these new mostly transparent hydrocarbons. You know, to each their own, though. I mean, that just because they're out doesn't mean you have to have them out. The beauty is that we all have different opinions, and diversity in terms of like thought should be celebrated. So that's where I'd say I'm not a big fan of modern pigments. That shouldn't offend anyone. If you are, then you are. Phthalos, I'm not huge on. Sometimes they have light fast issues as well. And therefore that's why I kind of stay away from them. So could get a little bit more chroma, I feel like, with some of those colors, but no desire. Could be a trade-off of light fastness. Light fastness just means in ultraviolet light, will they fade? And, you know, not that you want to put your paints in like a window, but you know, if you have them exposed to ultraviolet light, you don't want them to fade. So Naphthol, Naphthol red, Hansa yellow, they have light fastness of 2 to 3. Same with alizarin crimson, another one of the fugitive colors, or the most fugitive I think that people still use. People debate that, whether or not you should use it or not. I would just say you make the choice. I'm not here to sway anyone, but if you want to ask me my opinions, that's my opinion. I don't use them. All right, so we got, you know, this is a head down here too, and does it look like the head that I see? Not quite, but I think it's fine. It represents the two-dimensional pattern shape of this, and that's good. So again, there's something even in the abstraction of seeing it like this that's like, oh, that's beautiful, you know. And if you can make a painting in an abstraction like this, and I encourage everyone to look at the French academic studies where they did this. They used to get them. They used to have sketch competitions or competitions where they would have them stamp. This would be the composition, and then they would go and make it. And you know, there's a story even about Bouguereau being in one, and he lost. I forget to who, but he did. And it's fascinating because it's like you see these very, very abstract paintings that then were taken and made into paintings, and not like rendering the crap out of one little thing at a time. Like they were almost always in pursuit of a picture. And you know, I think there's just somewhere along the line these days of like something mistranslation or something, that everything was like cartooned. Sometimes it was cartooned, but not always. And once you get into the Impressionists, then we get away from it. So I'm going to be writing about that. I'm going to be doing another book and talking about these other, you know, ways of working. And it's just to offer a plethora of ideas and opinions. Doesn't mean anyone has to work in that way. Let me get a little, see if I have it. See if I have canned lemon. Here it is. Cadmium is just lighter than cad yellow medium. Just get a couple marks on there. And you can feel it. So this looks nearly identical to Hansa Yellow, or Hansa Yellow Light, I should say. But Hansa Yellow Light just has a different feel to it because it's transparent. Therefore, when somebody says, why wouldn't you use that? You can actually get more chromatic mixtures from it. It's like, well, why would I? You're trading off now light fastness for it. And therefore, I mean, to each their own, but that's not something, I don't want a color to fade over time. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you want to change your phone number, and I don't. But it's something that should be considered. Of like, what's going to happen over time with the pigment. And Art is Creation is a wonderful website that has all that CIN pigment information that I encourage everyone to go check out. So it's on my website too, Todd M. Casey. I have a lot of great resources on there that I've built because I get asked the questions all the time. And color is much more complex than the simplicity of we need high chroma, and that's like the end all be all. It's like, no, there's way more complexity to it. Even if you, like, for instance, cyan, yellow, magenta as a palette would get you a higher chroma mixtures on some things, but that doesn't mean you have to use it or like it. Because you may have higher chroma and you're just lowering chroma all the time. So for something like this, I'm having to like lower chroma, right? That's what like this. There's not a lot of chroma in this painting, and therefore, if I started with cyan, yellow, magenta, I could have more chroma, but that doesn't mean I need it. And a lot of the times, I think when you look at paintings, they don't really need a ton of chroma. Sometimes the most beautiful, especially if you like tonalist paintings, they're in a very small range of color, and that's why it's like, what are we talking about when we're talking about some of these concepts that are supposed to be universal? There's what people like should be not even debated. It's like this is what I use, So when people get into debates and stuff, I don't particularly care. I just exit stage left and I'm gonna go paint. That's what I want to do. Try them out and try concepts out for yourself. One of the things I talk about all the time. Then you'll be able to kind of have your own opinions about things rather than listen to what people have to say online. So there we go. There's just a dark shape right there. But this is kind of done. That's the gist of the. Do I have to make it look like I can recognize these as heads? It's like, no, that's the abstraction. And actually, what you see on camera when it's not blown up is kind of the gist of the whole thing. So let me get back in here, and I know I started with manganese violet. I'm going to come back in, and then I'm going to get a little white, a little bit of red, bring it down into a pink, a little bit more manganese. Violet, lovely color, one of my favorites on my palette. I'm just going to get that little mark in there, so it just chops it. But that's not perfect. That is the gist of the painting, though. All right, that's it for today. 23 minutes, or 24, not bad. And do one of these a day, and do them, abstract like I just did, and you'll learn so much.